Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome back at Math and Science Club. Today we will be looking at the application section for the cosine rule that we proved in the last video. So today we are going, to look at examples, of course, using the rule that we learned in the previous video, which is the cosine rule. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Again, if you feel confident, you can always just pause, you try it out, and then of course you can just watch the solution. Of course, if we haven't subscribed, yeah. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome back at Math and Science Club. Today we will be looking at the application section for the cosine rule. So remember, in the last video, of course, we did the proof, of course, involving the cosine rule, and I said that I would actually make a follow-up video, of course, doing examples surrounding that idea of the cosine rule. So this would be the video for that. Again, if you feel confident, you can always just pause, you try them out, and you can and then you can just watch the solution. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to subscribe and also hit that notification bell so that when the next video comes up, you will be notified. So of course, so the first question, they say that determine the length of BC. Now again, the first thing that I love to do every time is to label my sides. So of course, so if this is A, so that if that's angle A, so this side would be a small letter A, and this would be, of course, a small letter B, right? And that would be small letter C. That actually makes things easier for me every time. So they say determine the length of BC. So BC would be that length there. Now remember what I said in the last video. I said that the cosine rule involves all three sides and one angle. So if you're looking for a side, you must be given two sides, two adjacent sides, and of course also an angle that is actually between those two adjacent sides. So what we can see here, they say that they want us to calculate the length of BC, right? And we are given those two adjacent sides and an angle in between, right? Now, of course, to calculate that BC, now remember the first thing that you must do first. So the first thing I would advise for you to do is to set the right-hand side first, because it is easy, because this the right-hand side only deals with, of course, the two adjacent sides and the angle in between, right? So if I look, of course, if I set up the right hand side first, so this would be of course be equals to, now remember, it is the two adjacent right side, right? So again, let me just use the equation just before we get to other things. So remember, we have three equations. So the one that I'm going to use is the one that says a squared is equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2 BC multiplied by cos of A in this case. Now remember we said these two, so this side on the left hand side would be, of course, the side opposite to the angle that we took the cos of, right? So of course, in this case, so this would be, so we have b squared, so b squared would be 13, right? So this would be 13 squared plus c squared, which is that side, so this would be 11 squared minus 2 b, in this case we say that's 13, right? So that would be 13 multiplied by 11, and we take the cos of course the angle in between there, so that would be cos of 83 degrees. So that would actually be 83 degrees inside there. So of course, what I would actually, so again, on the left hand side we have a squared, right? So that's what you're looking for, that's what we are trying to find the value of. Again, so what I would advise from this step is just to put everything under the square root. So in this case, we would know that BC would be equals to under the square root all of those, the value that you're going to get, right, when you put that on your calculator. So of course, if you do that, what you would get would be 15.973. so that's actually been 97. So if you round that off, so this would be actually 15.97 meters. So BC would be, of course, 15.97. So that would be the length of that side. Now remember what I said, you must always of course if of course you're looking for a side, you must be given two sides and an angle. So that's one thing that you must note. And also if you're looking for an angle, you must be given all three sides. So you must be given all three sides. So in this case we're looking for a side. So in this case we needed to have at least two sides and an angle. So of course if we look at the second question, so they say calculate the size of s. So in this case they want us to calculate the angle, right? So what you would note, now remember we said they must give us all three sides, so we must be able to know all three sides if we are looking for an angle. Now the first thing that I would advise again is to start with the right hand side, because that's the easier one. So in this case, so just gonna leave at the left hand side for now. So again, which angle am I trying to find? So in this case I'm trying to find that angle, which is s, right? So in this case, so on the right hand side it's all about two adjacent sides and the angle in between, right? So this would be of course on the right hand side it would be so this would be just, I'm just gonna skip to to putting the values. So this would be of course 18 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 18 multiplied by 15, and we take, so multiply that by the cos of s, right? So that's the cos of the angle in between. Forgive me, I actually kind of ran out of space there. So, and of course the right hand side in this case, so the side that we're gonna have on the left hand side would be the side opposite to that angle we took the cos of. So in this case the side opposite to angle s would be of course 8 centimeter, right? So this would be 8 centimeter, so this would be just 8 squared. So of course if so 8 squared, we know that equals to 64, right? And 18 squared, that's 324, so this is 324 plus 15, that's 225, minus 18 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 18 multiplied by 15. I think what you get there is 540. So multiplied by cos of s. Now again, you don't have to do all of that step here. You can just simply from that first step you just do the additive inverse for those two, and then you'll be just left with that. So in this case, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to subtract 324 and 225 on both sides, and what I will get on that, I will get minus 500 and 15 being equals to, of course, so this would be minus 540 multiplied by cos of s. Again, if I divide both sides, now remember I want to find that angle, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to divide by negative 540 on both sides, and what I'll get is 0.9595 3703 and some other decimals. So you need to keep all of the decimals. So in this case this will be cos of s. Now again, to get an angle, so to get that s, so what you are going to do on your calculator would be just to say shift, and you say you press cos of, so what you get, you would get actually you get cos of -1 there, and then of course, so what you're going to put in between the brackets would be of course that ratio there. So in this case, so cos of so it would be cos actually. So of course what you're going to put there would be 0.953703 and some other decimal. Unfortunately you have to put all of them, and that would be equals to angle s, right? So if you put that on your calculator, what you would get is angle s being let me just pull that up. So that would be angle s being 17.5. so this would be 17.5 degrees. So that would be the angle for that s. And again, if you want to find the angle r, again you would do the same thing. So of course you would start by setting the right hand side, because it's a little bit easy. So on the right hand side you'd have so you'd have 18 squared, right, plus 8 squared, right, minus 2 multiplied by the product of these two, and you take the cos of r. And of course on the left hand side you would have of course that side opposite to that angle, which is 15, so it would be 15 squared, and you do the same thing. So you can do that to find that, and also you can of course to find that one. After you've found that, you would be to use the sum of interior angle of a triangle, and of course I'm sure you can be able to do that. So what I would ask you to do is just try to calculate that value for me using the cosine rule. You can use any, actually you can actually use the sine rule or the cosine rule. So what I would ask from you is to calculate that value, and you can just throw that on the comment section. And yeah, so of course what we're going to do, we're going to do the third question, and unfortunately I only prepared 3 questions. So this would actually be question 3. So forgive me, they kind of made a typo there, so this should be actually question 3 instead of 4. I hope that's visible. So they said that given triangles RST and TUS, they say determine the length of TR. So this would be of course that side they want us, right? And they also say that you must calculate that angle, which is TSU, which is, so they say TS, so it would be that angle, the TSU, so that would be that angle. And also they say that you must calculate angle side TS, so it would be that side there. Now what you can do, so the first thing that I would advise you to do again would be, so before you use the cosine rule, just try to find out if you can use the sine rule first. So if of course the sine rule is not applicable, you can always go to the other rule, which is the cosine rule. Now they say we must find that the side which is TR, so this would be that length. Now if you look in that triangle which is TRS, what we have on that triangle, we have of course that side, right? And we are given 2 angles, so that's what we are given, right? But of course now remember, to use the cosine rule you must have all 3 sides. So that's one thing that you must note. So in this case, if you look, we don't have that side, but we only have one side, right? So in this case we can't use the cosine rule. So the other option in this case that you would have would be the sine rule, right? So now let's check. Now remember, we said the sine rule works in pairs, so you must have you must have a side and its opposite angle, or you must have an angle and its opposite sides. So the sine rule always works in pairs, so that's one thing that you must note. So in this case, what are we looking for? We are looking for TR, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use actually the sine rule, because in this case it's a little bit easier. You can see that I have a pair, I have an angle and its opposite side, right? But in this case I don't have that angle there, because I would need also to have that angle there, so that I can use, so that I can calculate that side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find that that angle there. Now you can see that I already have 2 angles, so to find that one I would actually just use the sum of interior angle of a triangle. So what I would do is that I'm going to say that S, I'm going to say R plus S, of course being that angle there, plus T, that must give me what, 180 degrees, and the reason for that would be sum of interior angle in a triangle. So you must give a reason. So in this case I'm trying to find S. So in this case S, angle S would be equals to 180 minus 117 minus that 44 degrees. So in this case you're gonna get S to be 19 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's 19. So that would be that angle S. So this angle here would actually be 19 degrees. Now remember, they said that you must calculate that side, right? So in this case I can be able to use the sine rule. The reason being I have the angle, right? I'm looking for the side opposite to that angle, and I also have a pair. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say that now I'm sure you remember the the equation for the sine rule. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say that TR, so this will be TR And now remember it works in pairs, right? So that's TR, right? And its opposite angle. Of course, we take the sine of the opposite angle, right? So this would be sine of 19 degrees. So that would be equals to, of course, again a side, right? So this would be that side there, which is 116.7, and we divide by the sine of its opposite angle. So this would be a sine of 44. Of course, if this doesn't make sense, please, you can always refer to the second video. Of course, the one that is actually dedicated to the sine rule. Unfortunately, it's a very long video, so it just saved to bear with that. So of course, what you need to do, we are calculating for TR, right? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to multiply by sine of 19 on both sides. So I'm going to multiply by sine for 19 degrees, right? I'm just cross multiplying. So in this case I will do the same thing. So this would be sine of 19 degrees, and of course this would cancel with that, right? So TR would be equals to, of course, if you put all of that in your calculator, what you would get for that would be, now let's see, so what you would get for that is 54.69. So that would be 0.69. So that's the value that you are going to get for that. So of course, to find that now remember, so the other thing that they asked us to find is that angle there. So this, they said we must calculate the angle which is TSU, right? So that's TSU. So they want us to calculate that angle there. Now what I'm going to do is that to find that angle there is a little bit tricky, because if you note in that right angle, in that triangle rather, so in this triangle that we have here, so now the first thing, now we can't actually use the cosine rule to find that. Now remember, for the cosine rule we need to have all three sides, right? So in this case we only have one. So again, we can check, can we use of course the sine rule, and of course you can see that again we can't use that because remember that the sine rule works in pair, right? So that's one thing that you must note. So of course we can't actually use that for that. So what actually I'm going to do is that I'm going to to actually kind of find that side first, because in this case I would need it of course to find that angle there. So of course, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the cosine rule, so to find that side there. So in this case, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say of course, remember to use this cosine rule. In this case I must have two sides, right, and an angle in between if I'm looking for that side. So of course, if I'm looking for TS, so this would be of course T, so this, yeah, of course it's actually TS. So this is so this would be, so TS would be equals to, let me just use another color. So this is actually 6. Okay, so this would be so TS. Now remember, actually I'm actually neglecting the own rules that I made. So now remember, we said we start by setting the right hand side, right? So if you look on the right hand side, so the right hand side has to do with two adjacent sides and an angle in between, right? So in this case, so it would be 65 squared plus 80 squared minus 2, of course, the product of those two sides, right? So this would be 65 multiplied by 80, and we take the cos of the angle between, right? So in this case it would be 115 degrees, cos of 115 degrees. And okay, so actually this would actually be squared. So again, to find that and that side, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put all of that under the square root. So TS would actually be 122. It's actually 122.56 meter. So that would be that length there, which is TS. And again, of course, so if you were specifically looking for that angle first, and you would need that side. So in this case, you would not be able to round off that value early. So what you need to do, you actually need to to keep all the decimals, unfortunately. But in this case, of course, so that was actually another question. Now what I actually am going to do, I'm going to just flip things around. So I'm going to, so I started with TS in this case, so you can calculate that TSU, so you'll be able to calculate that angle there. Now what I would ask of you would be, can you please calculate that angle for me? And of course, now given that of course this side is 112.56. So I would need you to actually, this is not actually, so this is actually 122. So this is actually 122.56. So what I need you to do for me is to calculate that angle there. So what you can already see that we are looking for an angle, right? So the first thing that you would do is to find to find out if you can use the sine rule. So in this case we can't, because now remember the sine rule works in pairs, right? Actually you can. You can actually. So we have that pair there, and we are looking for that angle, right? In this case you can use that side, of course. So what I would ask of you is to calculate, can you find that angle there, which is TSU, and of course when you get that value, you can always just throw that in the comment section. The reason why I'm not gonna calculate that angle is because I don't want to make this video a very long video, because the first one, yeah, it was quite long. So this would be the end of today's lesson. So this was just an application to the to the cosine rule. So what I'm going to do eventually at the end is that I'm going to to just create another video, in this case dedicated to what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix all of the three rules, and of course we'll be looking at questions involving all three rules. So in this case, the only rule that's left would be the area rule. So that's the one that we're going to do next. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so that when the next video comes up, you'll be the first to be notified. Again, if this video helped you at some extent, you can always just hit that like button. And of course, if you have questions, you are always welcome to just throw that in the comment section. And of course, if you want more examples, or if you want if there's a topic that you would love me to do next after this one, you can always just throw that in the comment section. But until next time, this is Sir Mike signing out. Sharp sharp.